There's always so much to say, but a lot of the time it doesn't all come out at once. Like, fuck, I should have also mentioned that too. Or damn, I should have been more clear about that motherfucker, right? The reason why I delete a lot of episodes and restart them, this motherfucker, here we go. Like, a lot of times I'm like, I should have said that or I could have said this and the things would have been better, right? I mean, I'm not saying in cases like when I had a gun to my head in Chicago. Like some years ago, I was hanging out at some Mexican cafe until some fucking black dudes came in and robbed the place. I thought it was a joke at first until they put a gun to my head and they're like, give me your fucking money, man. I was like, I ain't got no money. They said, give me your fucking money. I said, oh, look what I found, my wallet. They said, you fucking crazy, man. So I took my shit and ran. Yeah. Then afterwards, I was like, you know what I could have said? I could have been like Bruce Lee or fucking Chuck Norris or something like that, or I could have talked my way out of it. Because there had been times around that time, around Marquette Park area in Chicago, when I was living in that area back in the day, when I was surrounded by these black thugs. You know, they would come to me a few times. And one time was on Western. Was it Western? Yeah, Western, like 74th Street, something like that. I got off the bus at night, one drunken night, and a bunch of dudes surrounded me. And I talked to one of the guys that had a really weird haircut, and they thought I was fucking crazy. And so I remember the dudes that were standing behind me, ready to like attack. And then the dude I was talking to was like signaling to him behind me not to do anything. Like the dude had his fist up, I'm imagining. And then the guy in front of me was like nodding his head like, don't do it. And then they eventually asked for my phone number because they wanted to make some movie at the time. Fucking weird fucking dudes. I gave him a fake phone number, never seen him again. Fucking weird times. But anyways, I talked my way out of it by my weird comedy. That's right. And I don't have the type of comedy where people are like, oh, that's so funny, ha ha ha. It's like the kind of comedy where people are like, what the fuck did that guy just say? Why would he say something like that? Very weird comedy. But like I said, it got me out of a lot of trouble. So, and mostly in that area, those types of instances. Like afterwards, you're always like, fuck, I could have said something different. Or how did I talk myself out of that one? Now my kid's mom, she's a crazy control freak. And the last time I seen her, she told me to get out of her house because I told the child that he was in a child's prison with his mother because she's a control freak, right? And then I called her a control freak psycho bitch when I walked out, right? And I was like, man, I shouldn't have said that, but I did. So it is what it is. And see, there's moments that cry for stoicism, right? And then there's other moments when you need to know when to say enough is enough. Fuck that, right? Like on the popular media popular history that narrative is that white people are bad and capitalism is bad and Western society is bad. And it all started pretty much with Christopher Columbus and slavery and so on and so forth, right? And it's like not even mentioning other fucking things that were going on. And that's why I made this channel. It's like there's so much more to this shit than what they're saying. But basically, looking at everything in the bigger picture, everybody's a motherfucker, right? Everybody sucks, right? There's only three races, right? There's the white, black, and Asian race, right? And then there's the subcategories, right? All three of those motherfuckers are bad, terrible, huh? But there's some good points about them, and then there's some bad in every one of those, and there's not one better than the other. But to pick out one over the other, I mean, that could be preference. That's fine, right? But to drive, some negative perspective towards one, and like some kind of wild social group, that kind of sucks, right? I mean, I know as humans we have been evolving in every aspect, right? And the social sciences and the perspective of humanity, I mean, how much has that evolved? I mean, if we're still pointing one group out over another, it kind of sucks, right? That means we're still as good as the fucking caveman. Or the Muslims that conquered parts of Africa and Asia, right? Or the Christians that conquered, this place and that place, and da-da-da-da-da. Oh, but did you know what the Mongolians did? Yeah. Yeah, what about China? I mean, I'm not saying one group did, is better than another. They all did some fucking crazy shit from time to time to one degree or another. In some places, worse than another guy. But that guy did better or did worse in another decade, right? But you cock-sucking bitch motherfuckers want a scoreboard. You're like, hey, put a point for him and a point for this guy, and you lose, motherfucker. Yeah, they want a point system, right? Be like, point the finger, right? And point the finger at that motherfucker and give my team another point. And for the people that don't know English well, they're like, what does point mean? What's the point of this fucking episode, huh? what drove me to point in this direction of this episode or this topic was when I listened back to my last episode, I was like, oh, I was talking about this Alan McHale dude that wrote that book about Muslims or the comparison between Sultan Suleiman and Christopher Columbus, where he started out basically when they were both children and grew up and conquered stuff, right? And he's like, one's better than the other. He's like, see how dirty and how much assholes these guys are and how cool these other dudes were. All these Islamic dudes, they conquered a lot of lands and they stole a lot of women. But you know what? The women were for sex. But you know what? We gave them good food. You know what? The Ottomans brought us the coffee that we have now, and it's so great, right? If you like coffee, you must like the Ottomans, right? Or Islam, right? And then stupid Western society brought you the automobile, the airplane, the Starbucks, the Apple the computer, right? Would you trade your cell phone for coffee? Okay, anyways, back on point here. So the whole world was pretty fucked up at that time of Christopher Columbus. We're looking at focusing on the 15th century here. So in Africa, in Asia, and Europe, even in America as well, there was people being stolen from one place, either sacrificed on an altar in Tenochtitlan in Mexico, or in Mayan pyramids. There was people killed there, people stolen in slavery, and that was happening in Africa with Muslims and then Africans, and then Europeans were doing it. It was craziness, and like I was bringing up, McHale says, yeah, and then there was all these harems, and he's like, they were so great. But I have another book that's like, I think is more in detail. Man, it was a lot of really wild stuff. I mean, coming from a perspective of a dude, right? If a guy, that's the modern day, I guess Western society, leftists want people to be confused about what gender some particular people are, but men know that the difference between men and women is that women don't want to be stolen from a group of people and then put in a room for sex and not being able to leave. Although I live paycheck to paycheck, so if at this very moment, a bunch of Islamic women came to steal me, to put me in a room for sex, I don't know. I think that might sound like a good idea. I mean, because that's the difference between guys and girls, right? Girls wouldn't want to get stolen for that, but a lot of men probably do. Be like, man, I wouldn't mind that too much, right? But at that time, like I said, of all three races, the black, white, and Asian races, they were stolen by these people and women were stolen and put into these rooms for that, and then young men were stolen as well to be janissary or soldiers or slaves or something like that, right? So shit was going on a lot in the 15th century, and other centuries around. But I'm focusing at the time around when Christopher Columbus was coming to America, because people were like, well, yeah, things were crazy back then. And people were like, yeah, but not as bad as Christopher Columbus was. And it's just like, come on, man, open your eyes. So I had one episode supposed to come out on Monday, but I had deleted it, and there was a big part of that that episode. At the ending of the episode, I had a bunch of dates and conquest of different towns and cities and states and cultures that were taken over at the time, and wars and whatever. And I was like, I don't want to throw that away. And so I thought I'd put it on top of this as deleted scenes, right? So, and that's what this is, a follow-up of another follow-up of the deleted episode. So anyways, that's it. That's all. I just wanted to throw that out there so you could see those dates and see how bad things were in the 15th century when Christopher Columbus came to America. That's it. Subscribe. And if you don't like it, you could share it with your enemies, and they'll hate you for it. Adios.